Ladies and gentlemen, so happy to be back doing weekly rankings, and I'm switching it up this year a little bit. So on Wednesdays, I'm going to be dropping my quarterback kicker video. That's this guy. I will also be dropping my running back rankings. Then on Thursdays, we have wide receivers coming up as well as tight ends. On Fridays, depending on my schedule, I may drop in a Thursday night game, Relentless Rundown, and I'm gonna do buy sells on Fridays as well. So buy sells are gonna help all those looking for trades, looking to maybe try to get an advantage in their leagues. That is a video for you. And then to top it off on Saturdays, once again, workload dependent, I'm gonna try to get in a stock up or stock down based on my rankings from earlier on in the week to give you guys a feel if any players may have shot up my rankings or tumbled down based on news that we heard. That's gonna be happening every single week from here on out, guys. So please make sure you drop a like on the channel, you subscribe so you do not miss anything. We are on our way to the first 500 subscribers. You can be a part of that, helping me out, clicking that button down below. So with all that done, what do I have in store for you guys today? We are going to go from 1 to 24 at the quarterback position. This is specifically designed for those in 2 quarterback super flex leagues. There's not enough love out there for you folks. I want to try to help you out and give you some options deeper down. I am also going to try to maybe skip through or just speed through some of the top quarterbacks that everyone is going to start to try to get you information on the guys that you are most wondering about. We're also going to quickly run through kickers, give you my top 12 options for the week, and I'll highlight a couple and why I like them. With that done, let's get into quarterback rankings. It's a pretty clear QB1 for me in week 2. I have to go with Josh Allen against Tennessee. He's at home. I think he cleans up the picks here. He continues to ball out just like he did against that tough Rams defense. And this Titans team just lost to the Giants. So Allen goes full speed and he makes a run at this MVP and he starts it here. 2 and 3 back-to-back, I have Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes in that Thursday night matchup. I expect this one is going to be a shootout. Whoever has the ball last is going to win it, and both of these guys are going to put up monster numbers. Jalen Hurts is in at number 4, a little bit hesitant for me as a Vikings fan. Now, Minnesota did eat Aaron Rodgers, but I think Jalen Hurts' rushing ability is going to give the Vikings problems, and that A.J. Brown cat is pretty good as well, so he fits in at number 4. At 5, and rounding it out, is Kyler Murray. He gets a matchup with the Las Vegas Raiders on the road. I think he's going to bounce back as well. He had a week where I would say basically nothing went right against Kansas City. And if he has to use his legs a little bit more to carry this offense, he will. I think he does, and he produces just fine. Dropping to 6 is Russell Wilson at home against Houston. After a downright, I would say, embarrassing and emotional loss in week 1 to Seattle, Russ is going to take it out on these scrappy Texans. They cannot find the same magic they had last week against the Colts, and the Denver Broncos roll. To 7, and it is Lamar Jackson. He is at home against the Dolphins. It's going to be a more difficult game against Miami, but I think Lamar Jackson is able to build on his 3-touchdown performance against the Jets. He's probably going to use his legs a little bit more as well. He had just 17 rushing yards last week, and I think he at least doubles, maybe triples that here. To 8, and it is Derek Carr. He's at home against the Cardinals. And did you see what Arizona gave up last week against Mahomes? Yeah, I think Carr is going to be just fine. He continues to build that chemistry with his college buddy. And I think these teams are going to combine for at least 50 points. Joe Burrow is my next guy. He is in at number 9. He travels to Dallas. I think Cool Joe takes a chill pill against this Dallas team who's not going to be able to muster much up on offense or catch up once they get behind. Joe Burrow, even though he had 5 turnovers last week and really honestly looked pretty bad in spurts, he was still the QB6 overall. Do not panic. He's going to turn it around. And rounding out my top 10 is none other than Captain Kirk Cousins, traveling to Philadelphia in a very big early season Monday night game against the Philadelphia Eagles. Cousins just looked different in the week 1 drudging of the Packers. He's going to be good for another QB1 finish here. And after what the Lions just put up on Philly, he has plenty of upside as well. To 11, it is Matthew Stafford at home against Atlanta. And this is the very best kind of get-right game there is. Atlanta is not going to bring that same intensity that we saw last week against the Saints. Stafford is going to light up these Falcons without mercy. And this honestly might be too low for him, but after how he performed last week, we have to take a little bit of a wait-and-see approach. My last QB1 on the week, and this may surprise some people, but I am not losing the faith. It is Trey Lance. He's got a home matchup with the Seahawks. We throw last week's performance and everything that it entails in the trash can. NFL teams should not be forced to play in a lake. It's ridiculous. At home against the Hawks team, who's going to be spent after an emotional week 1 victory, I think Lance is going to show that upside that you drafted him for. Calm down, keep the faith. To 13, maybe not so lucky this week, it is Tom Brady traveling to New Orleans. And honestly, this could be too high for Brady, who cannot, for the life of him, seem to figure out the Saints. After showing pretty good amount of rust against Dallas, I'm not exactly stoked to throw him in there, but you probably cannot bench the GOAT. To 14, it is Matt Ryan. He travels to Jacksonville to take on the Jags, who were feisty in week 1 against the Commanders. I don't think Ryan gets the 50 attempts that he did last week against the Texans, but he probably is not going to need them. Indy is going to be out to prove that last week was an aberration against a division opponent and nothing more, and they get another division opponent to prove that. Carson Wentz is in at 15. He travels to Detroit, and I have been very against Carson Wentz most of the offseason, but look, you ride it when it works. Wentz is not always pretty, but no one is going to argue with his top 3 performance that he put up last week. I think he comes back down to earth a little bit here, but the matchup certainly gives him some upside. Up next in the Sweet 16 spot, I have Trevor Lawrence at home against the Colts. He's already been able to build a pretty solid rapport with Christian Kirk. I think he builds off his performance last week that he put up against the Commanders. He's going to be just a decent mid-tier QB2 until he can cut down on the picks, though he at least just had 1 last week. Tua Tagovailoa is in at 17. He travels to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. And in case you missed it, Tua thrived last week, doing basically what I said he was going to do from the offseason, and that is to get the ball out quick to his playmakers in space and let them create. Now that might be a little tough to do against this Ravens team, so we need to temper expectations. Speaking of tempering expectations, in at 18 is Baker Mayfield traveling to New York to take on the Giants. And boy, oh boy, was it a tough run for him a lot of the time against Cleveland. But I don't think that these Giants are going to do nearly the same up front as the Browns did. I think the pressure is significantly less. Mayfield might actually surprise some people if that offensive line can help him out. 19 sees Marcus Mariota traveling to Los Angeles to take on the Rams, and nobody anticipated a top 10 finish from him, but that is exactly what we got. If he can continue to utilize his feet, he is a sneaky option moving forward in Superflex leagues, maybe in the not so distant future, and I'm sure he's available in plenty of them. Not this week though, against the Rams, who are going to take out what happened last weekend on the undermanned Falcons. Rounding out my top 20, I have Jameis Winston in a home matchup with Tampa Bay, and this is surprise of the week number 2. Last week's quarterback 7 is not going to have the same luxuries that he had in week 1. Tampa demolished Dak, so we can basically take what we get here from Winston. To 21, it is Justin Fields traveling to Green Bay. We talked about the field conditions. It were just horrible in Chicago, so really Fields did about what you would have hoped for against the 49ers. Now, I certainly do not love the Bears in this spot, but if they're playing from behind and they're forced to throw the ball a lot to catch up, that is just opportunity for Fields to put up numbers. To 22, it is Davis Mills traveling to Denver. And I know it's early, but I told you about this kid and not to sleep on him. Mills nearly stole a win for Houston last week, and he also finished as a top 20 option. If he can continue to stay away from those turnovers, the Texans could at least compete. At 23, I have Jared Goff. He's got a home matchup with Washington. And last week, against a pretty tough Philadelphia secondary, at least that is projected to be, Goff did not fold. We have to give him that. I'm really not sure who's going to win this game, but do not count Detroit out. They play with heart, if nothing else. And I think the Godfather could once again outplay his ranking. The last quarterback I am going to touch on is Ryan Tannehill traveling to Buffalo. He quietly finished, surprisingly, as a QB1 in week 1. But the Bills are going to give him all that he can handle and probably cause him a lot of trouble. No one is going to stop Buffalo's offense. That is really clear after their week 1 performance. So Tannehill could have to air it out to keep up. As always, guys, I love to hear your questions. Throw the start sits down below. If I missed on some rankings, I want to hear about that too. The engagement is the reason I do this. So drop one down below and get the conversation started. Let's now head into kickers. Top kicker play of the week is Justin Tucker at home against Miami. I think Baltimore could give the Dolphins issues, but we saw the Dolphins tighten up against the Patriots, and that means that a few long kicks are potentially there for him. At 2, I have Matt Gay. He is at home against Atlanta. And at 3, it is Tyler Bass against Tennessee. Both high-scoring offenses. I think the Rams rebound and Buffalo keeps it rolling. Evan McPherson gets Dallas, who basically has no hope this week, especially without Dak, and with the Bengals on a rampage after that loss against Pittsburgh. To 5 and 6, and it is the same game. Dustin Hopkins, Harrison Butker. I think the AFC West shootouts are going to provide great kicking options all season long, and this is the first of many where we will see that. To 8, it is Greg Joseph, my man Greg the Leg, on the road against Philadelphia, and Robbie Gould is my 9th kicker. He sees Seattle at home. I think the 49ers are going to rebound just fine. To 10, it is Matt Prater. He travels to Las Vegas to take on the Raiders, and I think the Cards are going to be able to bounce back after laying a complete egg in week 1. It's going to give plenty of scoring opportunities that were basically non-existent against the Chiefs. Do not panic on the Cardinals offense either. Ryan Succop is 11. He's traveling to New Orleans in what should be potentially a low-scoring affair, which brings us to 12, my last kicker that I like this week. It's Jake Elliott against my Vikings. I think this game is going to be another one where there are going to be plenty of scoring chances. Both kickers are great options on Monday night. And with that, we wrap it up for this video. Like I said, keep your eyes out. I'm going to be doing rankings every single week from here on out. I've got all your positions covered. I go pretty deep as well so that you can get a good look at some of the guys that maybe other people are not covering. I usually go between 30 and 34 deep in my wide receivers and my running backs. Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, sometimes Saturdays, I'm going to be having content coming out. Drop a like, subscribe to the channel. It helps me out immensely. This is Relentless Press. I'm your host, Abraham Opatz, and we'll see you next time.